It's home day. Oh, have we got information for you today. And we are kicking off the show with someone I think you're going to be excited to see. It's my good friend, Scott McGillivray. Come on out here, buddy. Woo. Showing those pipes. Look
How's
at
it
you.
going?
I'm
Good
good.
to see you.
We thought we'd spend a little bit of time. We're going to be talking a little bit later about a cause we're both really passionate about right now.
Absolutely.
But first, we're going to start by talking about basement windows, which you are passionate about.
Yeah, believe
Right?
it or not, this is what gets me going in the morning, basement windows. So
I get it. They're beautiful.
so many different windows in general, it can be complicated. I mean, you think, oh, simple, replace the windows, but what do you put in? There's so many different types, there's different styles.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you a thing or two about windows in general and basement windows specifically.
Okay, some very cool new things out on the market as well. Why don't we start over here?
I mean, you got to remember, the window is the gateway from the inside to the outside, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
the thinnest space between the interior of your home and the exterior of your home. First things first, you always want to make sure you're getting a window that's got some sort of UV protection, that's got some thermal
True.
properties, that's got sound dampening. I mean, this thing has to do so much work. People don't realize windows are hard workers, right?
Yeah.
So this one here is actually double hung, which means it goes this way.
All right.
All right, so it's a smaller version. It's got some of the dividers in it. Those are more decorative than anything. But some of these windows, when they get bigger, they can be pretty heavy, right?
Yeah.
So these ones here actually have a little bit of help for you. If you notice, I'm not a
that
magician.
cool?
The reason why it does that is because in the old days, there used to be these counterbalance or pig irons would hang down into the side of the jambs to help lift the weight. So this
Right.
one here is really easy to open and close. It always stays where you want it to. This is what's called a double hung. It goes up and down. It actually has a tilt feature as well. If you want to clean your windows, boom.
Oh, that's
pop
awesome.
them out. Same thing up top. Pop them out. You can clean them.
That is so good. So is it super safe? A lot of people do worry about that. You mentioned noise. If you live in a
Yes.
major center, you do want to worry about noise. But what about safety when it comes to these windows?
So there are certain requirements for instance, basement apartments or bedrooms need to
Yeah.
have a certain amount of window for light and ventilation. And it usually is that 5% of the floor space needs to be represented by window size. So if you have a
Okay.
100 square foot bedroom, you need to have at least a 5 square foot window.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
But you don't want to overdo it either. There's other rules and regulations. So this is what's called an awning window. What I like about these is that the whole thing opens up, right? The whole pane opens up. You get a lot of ventilation coming through these. You can have awning windows that go out. You can have awning windows that go in.
Okay. Are you
Right.
paying more for a window like this than you would for the first ones you showed?
You know what? It's minimal. The
Yeah.
price variations are minimal. Mainly, it's the size and the amount of glass that you're using, or
Okay.
if you're getting into decorative elements like the simulated dividers on this window, for instance.
Very
so you've got the
pretty.
simulate. Yeah, I mean. It's also a design element. You got to remember, you're using these windows to make your house look good. Casement window. Again, like the awning window,
Yeah.
the whole thing opens up. Normally it's installed so it doesn't move when you try to open it. But again, the whole thing opens. These are,
That's a thing of beauty.
bam.
Yeah, I like that.
Tons of light and ventilation with these windows here. They're really great. Sometimes people will do like a triple pane where the center is fixed and they'll put one of these on either end. And you can use the decorative elements, obviously, again, to make it look awesome.
Beautiful. So we all know in the basement, I know for me anyways, we wanted light. You don't
Yes.
want your basement to feel like that dungeon. So it's nice if you can get a lot of light going on there, but you have a restriction as to how many windows you can actually have in your house.
Correct. So
Right?
replacing a window, you actually don't even need a building permit if you're replacing an existing window with a new one. If you're
Okay.
changing the size of your windows or adding new windows, you need a permit because there's glass allowance issues.
Yeah.
And when it comes to glass allowance, what that means is you're allowed to have a certain amount of glass basically on the side of your house before it may become a fire hazard to the house next door. Right?
So you mean your glass breaking onto
No. Like
other
in the
one-
case of
the
a
other
fire,
house?
they've basically done calculations. So
Yeah.
especially in the city where houses are tightly put together,
Yeah.
you can have a certain amount of windows on the one size, but there's a maximum glass allowance, which is basically the threshold, the limit
Yeah.
to which would reserve or would keep a fire from spreading to your neighbor's house.
Oh,
Too
I
many
see.
windows, they blow out in a fire, your neighbor's house can catch fire. So
Okay.
that's these windows. This is one that I order all the time. Local company called Trimbo.
Yep.
Making all my windows. This one is a side slider tilt, so both of these open up as well. We put these in basements all the time.
Who knew all the variations? The reason why I was asking about price as well is because I wanted that second window there, and my contractor was like, "Oh, those are pricey."
Oh, well, don't
Are you
listen to
saying that
him.
they're not pricey?
Well, they can be.
I'll
Depend.
be
I don't know
very
what window you
upset.
looked at. This is a bit bigger.
Okay.
And we put these in basements as well, believe
This
it or
would be
not.
awesome.
Yes. Sometimes we get basements that are a little higher. We get
Yeah.
basements where you can put a big window well. This is what's important about this window. This is called an egress window.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the style. It has to do with the size of the opening. Because in basement apartments, or bedrooms even in basements, you're supposed to have a secondary source of egress. If the stairway upstairs is blocked or the
Yeah.
escape is blocked, there has to be a way for somebody to get out in the case of a fire. And you're supposed to have a certain amount of space. So a window like
You have
this,
to be able to get out of your window. So think about that if you're in an older house and there's only a teeny tiny little window.
teeny tiny windows, no windows at all, or windows that don't open are a problem.
Yeah.
So this is
Can
it.
you do it?
This is it. I don't know if I can do it. I might need some help from the audience
Give him
encouraging
a hand,
me.
everyone.
There's a fire.
Encourage him. Get out.
Oh my God, there's a
Get
fire.
out. Go.
Oh
go.
my God.
Go. Go. Get out. Roll. Tuck and roll. You did
I made it.
It's a good one. Let's go to break. We got more coming up. It's Home Day.
All right, it's your turn.
No.
Should she go?
No.